Tune in, episode 79, Between Two Bridges. Nate's been at it. Look at this new set. Wait till you see the new brand.
You're listening to Between Two Bridges, a business-to-business podcast. With your hosts, Joe Ferranti and Jerry Kenna. Produced by Nathan Kenna. Interviewing entrepreneurs, business operators, and investors. This episode of Between Two Bridges is brought to you by Duro Cleaners. Luxury laundry care conveniently delivered to your door. Visit durocleaners.com because life's better without laundry.
Episode 79, Between Two Bridges. You got two of us this week. We used to call these the bridge episodes.
Yeah, we haven't done one of these in a little bit. We've had some guests, and it's been a good run.
Good run. We had to bring back some old episodes. You know, it's been nice.
Yeah.
One of the things I was thinking about driving here today was the power. You know, we touched base, but I didn't want to steal time from Seaback because he is the legend and the voice of Pittsburgh, and I didn't want to talk to everybody about, how bad it sucks to lose power.
Yeah, it wasn't the time nor the place.
Yeah, and now it's neither the time nor the place because we have companies from all over the Eastern Seaboard working in our area. Mm-hmm. You know, shout out to the linemen that are working around the clock. And you still hear news stories about the one guy down the lane that doesn't have power. And it's like, come on, man. I get it. It's an inconvenience, but generators are $400 or $500.
Yeah, I think the tough part of the whole thing is people are losing their food. They're they're all out of sorts. It's tough. I was without power at my house and my office for about 24 hours.
Yeah,
and so we were fine. But even we were contemplating Wednesday night, like we were waiting to hear what the school was going to do on Thursday to see if they were canceling school. We were skipping town.
I think that's more of a psychological issue.
It is, but my kids were all like they didn't know. Like they've never experienced a power outage of that length of time.
100%.
And they were kind of freaked out about the whole thing. And then to see, when your kids are our kids' ages and they start to see the destruction and the crazy part of it is there was obviously a lot of destruction, right? A lot of big trees came down. It was a fast storm. It only lasted, 5, 7, 10 minutes tops.
It's like sunny and daylight.
Right. But, it ripped out. In Oakmont, there's trees that are 100 plus years old laying on their side. So, but for a kid that's 10, they're seeing that big ass tree that's always just been there laying on its side. And then you start thinking like, holy shit, what happens if that big ass thing falls on our house?
Yeah.
And, so then the problem is their imagination is probably worse than the reality of it.
Yeah.
But it really disrupts the kids. That was the biggest hurdle with it. And we were, I use a CPAP machine to sleep, so nobody slept real well Wednesday night.
The other thing I think with the kids is like, if they see a little break in the chink of armor, then it's a big break.
Yeah.
Then now they're never safe. So 2 nights ago we had thunder and lightning.
Yep. So they're waiting for it.
I rushed when that storm came through, I took my kids straight to the basement because I'm not going to be a hero at that moment. We have the basement accessible to us. It's a finished, it's the safest place in our house.
Sure.
Let's just go there. Let's not regret. I don't want to be the dude that's oh, well, we thought we were okay. Yeah. So I took them down there kind of in a hurry because that storm came in a hurry.
It did.
And then now when the lightning and the thunder comes, for the kids' sake, they're worried. But on a business aspect, that was the first time. I left McKnight Road 7 months ago now. McKnight Road's the main artery, so we always had power. Like it flickered, it come and go, but like we were out. Like I never even took into consideration the next morning that we wouldn't have power at the cleaners. And that was a day, that we were just kind of like, well,
now what?
Yeah, now we're at the mercy.
Yeah.
The next day, I looked at the map. They had a map online, and we were in the we were in the clear. We were supposedly had power. The next day, we still didn't have power, and I was like, well, this is a thing. Like this is like a bad situation because not only are we dealing with like our regular customers, we have additional customers due to prom season.
Yeah.
That like need their shit. And they just canceled school for my kids for like a week. It was, as a business owner.
Before we get into the impact of the business owner, put into perspective, that was a 5 or 7 minute storm. It was a record-breaking storm for Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
for the
they
Pittsburgh
said the airport,
area.
it was top 3 wind speeds.
But put in perspective what the people in North Carolina dealt with this year and the devastation that they dealt with.
The fires. And
we dealt with such a small, and it disrupted our infrastructure so massively. But just think about what it's like probably still in North Carolina.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because
there's whole towns that were just gone.
Your parents live relatively close. My uncle had a business on Plum Street. So when Ivan came through 25 years ago, they had the floods, right?
Yep.
So he dealt with the floods. Well, the next year, he had a fire. Like literally 12 months later. And I remember thinking like the devastation of a flood was devastating. I remember I helped them clean up from that. And we rebuilt from that. But the fire was like, there's no rebuilding from this. So what you're saying is we had this temporary blip. You could still see a telephone pull out your window. So there was hope that it was coming soon.
The houses were still standing.
Yeah.
There's, but there's entire towns in North Carolina that are gone. The Palisades burned down.
Yeah, there's a guy in our group. We have a Maverick dry clean owners group, and his post to us was everybody was looking after him, But his post to us wasn't like, I'm affected or burnt down. He said, I'm fine. I just don't have any customers. He's like, within a 20-mile radius,
there's nobody left.
There's no one left. He was like, what am I to do? We were like, no, it's unprecedented. That's kind of what we dealt with here. We always feel safe in our valleys and our peaks, but we dealt with it,
Yeah.
And then you think about it and you're like, well, what would I do? And it's kind of like what we talk about all the time. COVID's here and it came real fast in a type of a storm,
Yeah.
And that's the thing that people think. They're like, we talk about a lot, oh, we're millionaires because we own our own business. But they don't see and I'm fortunate that I have a couple of neighbors that are also in their own business. So we all reel together real quick. We all start looking and thinking alike. But not only do I got to figure out what's going on here at home and get this figured out, I got to go deal with home number 2 that pays for home number 1 real quick. And it's a fucking mess.
Yeah.
Last time we had a power outage like that was, I think last summer, maybe spring last year, we had a power outage at home, but I had power at the cleaners. So we just took shit to the cleaners and plugged it in and we were cool. But it's a fucking juggling act.
Yeah. So the impact on these businesses, our businesses, you were basically out of commission. You couldn't operate. You also had equipment failures and like that. Fortunately didn't have any equipment failure. My power was out here for, like I said, about 24 hours, but everything came back on. We were able to get back to work the next day. So we were out. I just closed on Wednesday. There was no sense that we didn't have phones. We had no internet. We had no power. There's nothing to do here.
Right.
So we just closed. And fortunately, it's not tax season. There were, the deadlines were what they were. It was what it was. You had to do what you got to do. But not the end of the world. Some businesses...
we stack our work too. 2-3 days, we'll stack it. We'll make it up Like my thoughts were, we'll work Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, whatever
make
you
it
gotta
up.
do.
But what you're saying is some businesses
They don't
can't
have that
stack their
ability.
work.
Put into perspective, think about like a restaurant. So I see a lot of times where, you read reviews or you hear people complaining about a restaurant, food service is slow or why is there a 20-minute wait? I see empty tables. Most people don't understand the operation of running a restaurant. The reason why there's empty tables and there's still a wait isn't because they're waiting for a table to open up. They're pacing the kitchen. They can sit you there, but it's going to slow down service for everybody else in the restaurant. They're trying to avoid that. So they sit you out front so that they can pace the kitchen.
Right.
There's more to running a restaurant than just cooking and bringing out your food. You have to, there's timing, there's a lot that goes into it. Well, behind the scenes, you've got coolers, you've got freezers, you've got a lot of inventory. You've got food that's prepped. There's a lot that goes into that. And then you've got health department rules.
Yeah.
That power goes out. You've got 4 hours. If there's 4 hours goes by and you don't have power, everything in the coolers or in any sort of refrigerator, it's gone.
Yeah.
Trash. Freezers, you get 48 hours. After 48 hours, fucking trash. So, and then to add insult to injury, not only do you have that timeline where you're racing the clock to get power back to your place, but you can't even order replacement inventory because
you got nowhere to put it.
You got nowhere to put it because that truck's going to pull up with all that new inventory and you don't have any coolers. So you can't do anything except wait for the power to come on.
Yeah.
And in this situation, it's not like you could predict like, okay, in 2 hours, the power is going to come back on. So we know that we can order that food. By the time it comes, we're going to have power. We didn't know.
Yeah. And I was very comfortable with like, hey, they said maybe 7 days. I was good with that. Restaurant, not good with that.
So not only do you have the loss of revenue, you've got staff that there's nothing for them to do there, or you're going to pay them to be there to do nothing.
Right.
So you have a loss of revenue, you've got loss of inventory. And then even when the power comes back on, now you've got to rebuild your inventory. You've got to re-prep. There's a lot that goes into.
It's not like they flip the lights on at noon and then you got all your employees rushing back in.
There's a lot of work, prep work that leads up to being able to complete a dinner service.
Yeah.
So now they've not only got to get the inventory in, but then they've got to do all the prep work to get ready for that dinner service. A lot of food or a lot of items are pre-done, pre-prepped.
Yeah.
Maybe not pre-cooked, but cut, prepped, sorted.
All your vegetables.
All that kind of stuff. You got to redo all that stuff because you just had to throw away all that stuff. So there's so much that goes into running a business that way that these power outages are devastating.
Have you ever seen the show Bear?
Yeah.
So like they're there in the morning and like there's not a patron in sight and they're chopping 10 bags of onions.
Oh yeah.
And that's real life.
Yeah.
Like that's
100%.
I mean, that show's not real life.
No, but that's the way it works. I mean, you watch Hell's Kitchen. Do you ever see that?
Yeah.
And I remember seeing episodes of that. I've been watching that for a long time. And seeing these people that are like, we have this truckload of onions and you've got to cut them all up and get ready to make onion rings. And there's like literally a tractor trailer full of onions. And I used to be like, Jesus Christ, could you imagine having to sit there and cut all that stuff up? That's what these guys do every day.
Yeah.
There's a lot of work that goes into that. And when you don't have juice, when you don't have power,
You're fucked. Yeah.
So the power outages like this have such long-lasting devastation to businesses. Now, fortunately, there's insurance claims, hopefully.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
We've talked about.
Insurance is never...
It's never guaranteed.
Yeah, no one ever wins on insurance.
No.
Unless they've overpaid.
And even still, I mean, I've seen so many clients over the years that have lost rental properties due to fire, and then 9 months later, the insurance company says, well, we know that you've been paying premiums saying it has a replacement value of $400,000, but we've determined we're going to give you $160,000. Well, what was I paying for?
Dude, I lived it with my van. Like my van was my principal part of my business. And unfortunately there was an accident. And now I'm $46,000 backwards in it.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And
it happens all the time. Insurance companies, you pay all these rates, and insurance prices have gone up so much over the last couple of years in so many different businesses.
They'll continue to go.
They're going to continue because of things like what just happened. And then when it comes time to lean on that insurance company, like, okay, well, now I need you. And they're like, yeah, we're not going to cover that.
Well, it's funny because like I always say that no small business is sponsoring a Major League Baseball field, but 13 insurance companies are. So, I mean, there's a gross spending on that end of it. But they take advantage. I mean, so, but this situation, there was like, I don't have a lot of problem with it. Like, I understand business owners going through it, but like, I also have a problem with like Becky from the East Hills that lives on a dead end street that has a power line crush their neighborhood, like tree over it. And they're like, oh, I don't understand. I don't see anybody from Duquesne Light. And I'm like, well, that's because they're working on it, Yeah. And I felt that way for 2 days. And then after 2 days, I heard a helicopter at my place. And I'm like, I hear this fucking helicopter. Where's it at? I walk outside. It came out of the ravine. And right then and there, it was like clear as day. I was like, oh, there's like power lines that run through woods that we don't even know about. Like your drive to work might not be impacted, but like there might be a major power line down because that storm did not care what was in it.
Oh no. Yeah, I drove through it. I was here and that storm showed up about 2 hours before it was forecasted to throughout the day.
Yeah.
And I saw the weather and I was like, oh, well, I'll be home by then. No big deal. And I was actually on the phone with the IRS, dealing with an issue with a client that they were having. And I was actually having a productive conversation with the IRS. Like they were actually accomplishing what I needed them to accomplish. We were going through everything. She was making the adjustments that I was requesting. She was actually doing it. It was happening.
Did her power go out or yours?
Mine. But it was 2 hours into the call. Right. And I'm like looking at the window, looking at the trees blowing. Look, my phone's going off, severe weather warning, like up to 90-mile-an-hour winds. And I'm thinking, I got to get home. And I, by the way, had the Corvette here. And I'm like, and it's like hail and everything else. I'm like, I got to get this car home.
Like I should have never got rid of the tracks.
Yeah. I'm thinking, I got to get this car home before this weather hits. And I can't get off the phone because I've come too far here. Like I can't hang up after a 2-hour call when she's actually accomplishing what I need to accomplish. So I had to finish the call. I finished it. I'm like, I gotta go. And it was like a little after 5 at this point. I jumped in the car and I'm blasting down 910 and it hit when I was maybe a half a mile from here. And I don't know that I've ever seen anything like it. I mean, the wind and the way the water was just streaming across the road. And I mean, it was bad.
Yeah, I was watching water not touch the ground.
Yeah.
Like within my visual window, the water was not touching the ground.
By the time I got to Harmerville, it was over.
Yeah.
It was that fast.
It was terrible. And when it got done, our power was out. And I didn't think anything of it because like around me, my immediate area wasn't impacted. So I was like, hop in the car, let's go. Go for a ride and we'll assess the damage, and get something to eat because we're obviously not cooking here. We got in the car and we got maybe 10 minutes from our house. And we were like, whoa.
Yeah.
We dodged one here.
I didn't even have to get 10 minutes. I went home. I had to manually open my garage door because the power was out and got the car put away. But my wife and kids were at my parents' house. So I jumped in my truck and drove over there.
They got out of Dodge quick.
Well, my wife and kids?
They were
already there.
Okay.
They were dropping some stuff off and it hit while they were there.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I'll meet them there. There's no power here. I'm not going to sit by myself in the dark. I might as well go there where there's no power there either, but at least we'll go there. So I got in the truck, but a half a block down, there was a tree down And I was like zigzagging through Oakmont. I mean, Oakmont got hit hard.
Yeah.
There was a lot of trees in this town, and it was bad.
I think like the lesson out of it to me is, and I've always done this, was like always under promise and over deliver, right? So like in my business, like we have deadlines every day, but we're always ahead of schedule. So what I did was like in that moment, like when all that shit went south and we couldn't deliver what we would say we would do, we were already ahead of schedule, right? So what did I just say? Fucking Nate, you back there?
Over promise.
Under promise, over deliver.
Under promise, over
so like
deliver,
we have leeway, right?
Yeah.
So like if I tell you it's gonna be done on Thursday, it'll probably be done on Tuesday.
Right.
So that bought us some time, but like,
and it also, it helped me being closed, helped us because we were, being closing, it didn't hurt too bad because this wasn't a storm for Indiana Township or for Oakmont or Cheswick. This was all of Western Pennsylvania got hammered. So it was like, I mean, I had 2 appointments on Wednesday and I had to call them and be like, hey, I have no power. Both of them, as soon as I called them, the first thing out of their mouths was like, I was waiting for you to call. No power? And I'm like, yeah, I'm out. I have no power. And they're like, all right, yeah, I figured we'll just reschedule for next week.
So I had an automated message that goes out the night before home delivery that states like, hey, you have either a drop off or a pickup, we'll be in your area tomorrow. But I forgot to take the tagline off from the winner that says, if the roads are bad or we cannot make it, we'll be there Friday. And it just slipped my mind. I didn't even know it was there. So I had like 36 messages that Wednesday morning. They were like, we'll see you on Friday. We got trees down. So like my driver came in Wednesday, like he worked a day, but like he didn't work a full day. And I was like, guess what Friday is? It's a full fucking day. And believe it or not, there were some of those roads on Friday they couldn't get to.
Yeah.
But he was on the north side and had a tree come down in front of him and behind him. And the smart vet that I am, I said, which tree's bigger? He said, the one behind me. I said, looks like you're going in reverse, motherfucker, because you got to get out of there. Like, you got to go. Like, you got to do what you got to do. Got to get you home. Yeah. I'm not coming to cut you out.
I have a friend that his wife was out taking a walk in the woods with the dog when it hit.
Friend of the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. When we talked last week a little bit about that, I didn't know exactly who you were referring, but when I saw it, I was like, man, that's like...
Car got crushed, but she was trapped in the woods for a little bit.
Yeah, freak you out, like...
Imagine being surrounded by trees when that came through.
19, not knowing where your girlfriend is a little different than being 41 and not knowing where your wife is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a feeling.
And the dog.
Well, I mean, yeah, what the old joke, Jared, is you lock your wife in the trunk of a car, you lock your dog in the trunk of the car, wait an hour, open them both, see who's excited to see you. That's who loves you more, you know what I mean? So like, but even my dog throughout the storm, like with the power being out like at night, he was like uneasy.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't help not shit in my house, but like it's life, man. That was a hell of a situation. So I mean, I didn't want to talk too much about it last week because we did have Seaback in the chair.
Yeah, Mr. Seaback here, and that was a tremendous episode. He's literally a Pittsburgh living legend.
Yeah, it's so hard to like you've heard this voice for all of your adult life, and then to hear it in person and like to converse, nothing wavered.
No.
Like his attention to detail on a daily basis is impressive.
I could have sat here and talked to him for hours.
Dude, like when he was telling stories about people that he met 30 years ago and wanted to reference first name, last name, I'm like, dude, don't you know by now? You just call that guy Jag off and move on. Yeah. But like he was like,
Yeah.
So that was cool. And that theory with him, like every ask question's an opportunity. Mm-hmm. I like to live by that at some point. Yeah. It was I think humbling moment. You ask yourself like, what are we doing this for? And it's obviously not to be famous. It's to just kind of have these conversations.
No, it's to connect with people like him. It's to connect with our listeners. It's to connect with, it's just to build a relationship with people and kind of help people through hopefully help people through a hard time.
I told my wife, I said, this show to me is like a fucking business suicide hotline. You know what I mean? Like we had all this shit going, all the power and fucking, you know, the worst part was the manufacturing end of it. You get an order, you can't fulfill an order. They cancel the order. So you lose a skid, you know, and they went somewhere. And now
you have to worry about them ever coming back.
Right. All the work you've done to get to that point is gone because it's not because of anything I did. It's just because we couldn't do it, you know? And then you lose a company like Aerospace. If you're out there listening, fucking call us. We lost power, you know, it's the truth. You heard it here.
Yeah.
But like they might have found somebody else or, you know, and then you worry about that. And if they were cheaper, God forbid they were cheaper.
Yep.
Because if they were cheaper, they're going to tell their friends and their friends' friends, you know? So, and like restaurants had it tough. I'm sure they're the most impacted by this.
Yeah.
Like an ice cream shop or like something like Glenn's down the road, you know.
Any of them, man.
Anybody.
The bigger the restaurant, probably the harder because you got to think about the value of that inventory.
Yeah, they never put the freezer up front. You know, you don't see how big their freezer is. It's usually hidden in the back.
There's a lot of money in that freezer.
Yeah, and then like their employees don't get their hours, and then that was like our big thing. Like, what do you do? Like, you got to pay the people. Like,
how about if it's payroll week and you can't access the point of sale system because the power's out to get their payroll hours? Some of these people, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of...
You know what you do? You buy a $10 breakfast sandwich on a Saturday and tell them good luck because you feel bad, you know? Like you do. You honestly like... I mean, we beat around the bush about who we're talking about. We both know who we're talking about, but like the community doesn't understand that. They're worried about their trees and their bushes. They're not worried about the guy that they've been bad mouthing on the internet for fucking 10 months.
Yeah. So it's a hard time. It's a really hard time but then Tuesday night, you know, we had no power, need to feed the kids, got to eat. So we somehow found out that the mills had power. Pittsburgh Mills had power. So we went to Pittsburgh Mills, went to Chipotle. And Chipotle was crushed. When we walked in, they're like, we don't have cheese and we don't have chips. And I'm like, okay.
We don't have chow, but we have polte.
So we were like, well, whatever. So we ordered our food. We're sitting there eating. By the time we left, the people that were walking in, they're like, we're out of lettuce, we're out of pico, we're out of chips, we're out of cheese. Like they were out of everything.
Like, what brownie is meat? Bring it on salt and pepper.
The entire time we were there, the line was all the way out the door.
Yeah, we were fortunate. We were like third in line at Panera. Mm-hmm. So we got what we needed. But when you look back, it was like, man.
Because everybody needed to eat. They couldn't cook at home.
I'd have cooked at home. I
fire
feel
up
like.
The grill.
Yeah, fire up the grill. I mean, the stove still works.
Yeah, you had a lot of food in the freezer to cook, so.
That was my biggest fear. I was like, man. And I said to myself when I was done, I was like, next time you think about buying half a cow and a pig,
buy a generator to go with it.
Just fuck it. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Puts too much pressure on it.
Yeah, I've been thinking more about maybe like investing in a generator, not just like I mean, like you said,
a whole house gen rack.
Maybe that, or I was talking to a buddy of mine that said that there's ways that you can do that. You can function that way with a decent sized gas generator and you can still run it through your whole
plug
house.
It in and run it, yeah.
And so I'm kind of experimenting with that route. He actually bought all the equipment that he knows, and he's a union carpenter, so he
knows everything about electricity.
He's at least knows enough to not get himself killed doing it, and so he's going to go through the process and see if he can get it all to work. If he can, I'll probably go down that route because those Generacs, like by the time you get them installed, you're $10,000-$12,000 bucks. So
it's nice though. They run off gas,
natural gas, yeah, that is nice. But if you think about it, it is nice, right? Because then you don't have to worry about it. But if your power goes out long term, like once a year, what is it really costing you to put gas in that thing?
Yeah.
For that?
And we talked about the kids earlier. It's kind of like a learning tool, you know, like they got to learn. It's funny because I think we've talked about it on here before, but I live in a pretty affluential neighborhood and no one had their Generac fired up because it's not a smart decision. It's a pure luxury. You know, if you're looking at it as
They weren't using them? They had them but didn't use them?
No, they just didn't have them.
Oh.
They're just not built for that.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I'm not in that affluential of a neighborhood where like $10,000, $15,000 means something.
Some of the houses in your neighborhood are that.
Well, they are, but like still at that point, $10,000 to $15,000 is still a significant investment for once in a century storm.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
it's all over everybody's Facebook feed now, though. Like, everybody has to buy one.
Yeah, well, good luck.
I'm marketing the shit out of this area right now.
The thing that I have seen on the internet that's maybe the most mad is like the unappreciative. Like, nobody appreciates the guys that are out there working. Like, they came at 3 o'clock in the morning and cut branches down and I still don't have power. It's like, I think back, so my Uncle Ray was a Duquesne Light linesman for his whole career. And he's probably 70 now. So his 40th birthday, he got dispatched to Michigan because they had an ice storm. I remember calling him, like he called in the house from a payphone. We had his 40th birthday party at my grandmother's house without him because he was doing that. And like, there's no appreciation for the guys that have come into our area from New York, from Michigan. They're just like, everybody wants to know what the fuck's going on.
Everybody wants immediate gratification, and that goes across the board with everything. Everybody wants everything done right now, but when you've got 300,000 plus homes out of power, not everybody's going to be on right away.
Dude, I was hunkered down thinking like my house will be the last one on because I live on a house of 7 houses. Like, so if you're doing the numbers and you're trying to get everything going, we're the end of the road.
Yeah, I think the only reason mine went on so quick is that I lived next to the elementary school. So I was probably on a priority list.
Yeah, when I lived in Oakmont, we were right by the fire department. So every time it was like bang, bang, bang. But I mean, I think that what went on in Oakmont with Halton Road was grotesque due to the circumstances.
Yeah, that was a main artery.
State road. And
it's probably, in my opinion, the power issue on that road is less of an issue of the traffic issue.
Yeah.
Because Oakmont, the way Oakmont is geographically and traffic-wise, Oakmont has become a pass-through town for a lot of communities to get to the city.
Yeah, it's impacted their roadway. Pennsylvania Avenue's not going to hold up as long because of that traffic.
And you had the viaduct closed for a lot of it. You had Halton Road closed. So without going through the neighborhood, you had one way out of town.
Right.
And the bottom line is that most of the traffic going through Oakmont is not Oakmont traffic, it's transient traffick.
Not to mention.
So they don't know necessarily all the little back roads to get through the neighborhood to get around it.
Not to mention they're hosting a putt-putt tournament next month.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so they're bringing in, 40, 50 tractor trailers a day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was
you see that news story
traffic
about
was
like
a nightmare.
Their tent got blown over, and it's like people then are like, "Well, is it safe?" It's like, yeah, it's fucking safe, but that was like not even built yet.
80-mile-an-hour winds,
and it wasn't built yet. Right. Like they didn't build the whole igloo. The whole igloo wasn't conformed yet.
Yeah,
so it wasn't like it just blew over.
That wouldn't even have crossed my mind.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, the storm was fucking impactful, and that shit will happen.
Yeah. Oh, we're getting up.
Thank you for listening. And now a brief word from our sponsor. Streamline your life with Duro Cleaners' complete pickup and delivery service. From your doorstep to their state-of-the-art cleaning facility and back, all without you lifting a finger. Get time back in your day and fresh, ready-to-go clothes. And just wait, big things are coming soon to make your experience even better. Visit DuroCleaners.com because life's better without laundry. And now, back to the show.
Well, can we talk about...
We're not talking about the fucking storm no more. We're done. I ended it.
I know. Can we talk about your new brand? By the time this launches, your X is going to be over.
I don't know. We ready to talk about the new brand? I'm fucking running it. I don't care if you like it or don't. The coming soon page is... The coming soon. All right. We can talk about it then.
So you've been working on something for the last several months.
Since episode 1, I think.
Well,
I don't like the you've though. Gotta
What?
give some other people in the room credit. We've had fucking 19,000 hours about conversation about this. So like,
yeah.
it's part of the podcast at this point.
Oh, it's not me.
You're part of it, motherfucker.
Okay.
If it don't work, it's your fault.
So Duro Cleaners is about to undergo a pretty substantial change.
Yeah, our major corporate sponsor here.
Yeah, you're our major corporate sponsor. It's been something that's been in the works for a long time now. It was part of the process with you dropping the retail, moving to all home delivery,
Yeah.
buying the new building.
I think the biggest part of it was never me. Duro Cleaners was never me. Like I bought that name.
Yep.
And I was afraid to change it because it was synonymous with where I was at. You know, like funny story, I bought Duro Cleaners. I went to a wedding with my wife's family. I was talking to a guy on a porch. He asked me what I do for a living. I said, well, I own Duro Cleaners. And he said, no, you don't. In front of like 17 people smoking cigars at a wedding. And I'm like, well, yeah, I do. And he goes, no, you don't. I know the owner of Duro Cleaners, and you're not him. And it dragged a hair across my ass ever since then. It was like, yeah, I do. He came into the store Monday. I was at the counter, like I waited on him. And he was like, how about that shit? You do. But then I realized something. It wasn't me. It wasn't who I was. It was who that business was, but it wasn't my vision. I didn't want to be a retail cleaners forever. So then, you know, kudos. We know now everybody knows Nate, you know, he's in the headlines. But like, it became an asset to me. Like, all right, Duro Cleaners has got me to this point, but this isn't where I want to be in this business, right? Like, I don't want to just be the owner of a retail dry cleaners. So when we did the move, that was to get away from it. And now it's hard to brand it to that. It's hard because people aren't like, they're like, well, you're in the North Hills. I'm like, no, I'm not there anymore. So they don't understand what's coming. So what I've done is, with the help of a lot of people, is just make this thing work without that storefront. And it doesn't work if you just keep the same brand, you know? So now with the change of the brand and going to the wash, laundry and dry cleaning, it makes sense to advertise that. And one of the things I've always known in life is like, if you have a business, you need to advertise your business. Mm-hmm. People fail to do it all the time. I have a business card to this day that's in my nightstand, and it says something along the lines, and I'll butcher it, but it says like, I don't feel it's valuable to advertise, but I wake up every morning and I brush my teeth with an advertised toothpaste. I use an advertised toothbrush. I get into an advertised car. I put on like advertised clothes. Like everything you do is a function of advertising. So for a small business owner, it's hard to say, I don't need to advertise, word of mouth. And it is important, word of mouth. But we have established word of mouth with our core clientele. We're over 2,700 customers that we service weekly, monthly, you know, but they don't care to tell their friends because they like, I think sometimes with small businesses, people are like, I want to keep it a secret. Like, I need you out there promoting our brand. So now with this rebranding, we've made a process where it takes me out of it. It takes the old business out of it. It's this new thing. And if so be it, we spend $2,300 on a billboard and put it up on 28, it's not connected to anybody. It's not, you know, we're not a law firm. We're not Shenderovich Fishman. We need to be synonymous. When you think, how am I going to get my clothes cleaned because my power is out? Oh, there's that company, Wash, that will clean my clothes and bring them back to me, you know?
So Duro Cleaners is dead.
Yeah, we're killing it, man. It's tough.
And it is now Wash, Laundry and Dry Cleaning.
Yeah. And, you know, you become 7-8 years now, you become synonymous with the business, you know? Mm-hmm. And I love my customers, and I'll always be reachable. And like, anything I do, I will always be there for them. But I don't need the phone to ring and say, is Joe there? Because that ruins what we're trying to do here, you know?
Yeah. Trying to create a process, a system that runs without us there.
Yeah. And I don't think that you can do it under the old regime, you know? Like if it was Kenna's accounting and associates, they want to come in and they want to talk to Kenna.
Right.
You know? But like they're all comfortable buying like Silver Star meats and not knowing the owner.
Right.
It's just a weird dynamic that I felt like the only way to do it is to just nip it in the butt and be done. And I think the only way for me to look at it was to nip it in the butt and be done. Because as long as it was synonymous with me, I'm going to want to answer every 8 p.m., 9 p.m. phone call. I'm going to want to drive out of my way 4 hours or 5 hours a day to like make sure everything's right. But if the system's in place and you don't respond to your text message and you do not get a pickup the next morning, that is on you. Yeah. That's not our fault. Yeah. Like we have a system in place. So, I mean, psychologically, it is tough. Physically, it's the whole feels, you know, it's like you're just pretty much closing your business and hoping that everything works out.
Yeah. So the nice thing that you have is that you do have an established clientele,
right?
That you'll be able to provide marketing materials to let them know that this is it's a branding change.
Yeah.
The service isn't changing. You're not going to lose customers over this.
I don't think we'll lose our core group of customers. I do think that it will raise some questions among some of the new customers because we've sold them a bill on who we are and what we do, and now we're switching, but I'll handle that. Yeah. You know, that'll be a personal conversation.
Yeah.
You know, we've talked about it a million times that 20% of your revenue comes from, or 80% of your revenue comes from 20% of your customers. You know? It's an easy number to control.
Yep.
Like you don't have to look at it like, oh, well, 2,700 people are going to be pissed at me tomorrow. You know, if we show up and continue to show up, I think about whenever the Postal Service went from like United States Postal Service to USPS or whatever, nobody gave a fuck.
No.
Actually, people would probably be happy to know that I'm dying on the sword for them. You know, they'll be like, we didn't like that guy anyway. So I'm excited for it because I've been in like a zone where like, how much do you push to promote Duro? Because you're the only one knows that it's not going to be there come June. You know, like how much do you invest in selling that product to somebody, especially like a big deal? Like how do I push it across the finish line knowing that in 13 days I'm going to have to call them and be like, oh, by the way, we're not Duro anymore.
Right.
So, but I mean, our industry has changed 1,000%. And I think putting wash up front and letting people know that we not only dry clean clothes, we wash clothes.
Yep.
You know, I mean, the whole process has been like my opinions of what I do and listening to like Nate and talking with you and like understanding what we're really doing has changed. Like I don't do what I think I do. I do more than that.
Yeah.
And like we offer so many services that aren't being utilized. We do rugs. Like if you had a flood at your house, we can clean your rug. We can clean area rugs. We can come to your house and clean your rug if we have to. You know, we can do all that. But nobody knows that because they think of me as like, hey, remember that dry cleaner down the street? And it's like, fuck, dude, like I can do anything you want me to do. We used to have this saying, we clean anything but lampshades. And then I cleaned the lampshade. So now there's nothing I can't clean. But like, it puts me in this position of like, they think suits, funerals, job interviews. It's like, no, dude, like we do so much more.
Anything.
Like band uniforms are hard to acquire because they switched recently and they're now machine washable. So now they won't send a bulk load of band uniforms to a dry cleaner because they would rather let homeowners like their kids' parents take them home and clean them. It's like, whoa, we'll wash them too. You know, like it's fucking nuts. So that I'm very happy, although always going to be apprehensive. because, you turn one light switch on and you turn one off and it might be dark.
Scary.
It might be dark. But I think with the right people in play, and I think what we've done here is we've built a quality brand.
Yeah, I think you're going to kill it. I think...
I don't want to kill it. I just want to survive.
Yeah, I think we've talked extensively about this transition, about your future plans with this brand, and I think what you're doing is you're taking an opportunity to kind of reinvent what people understand as their local dry cleaner.
Right.
And, I'm one of those people that I'm in a dry cleaner when I need a suit done for a funeral or for a wedding. Or if I have a stain on a shirt, something like that. But I've even, just in this process learned more, and, I've had you do some wash and fold for me, and, there's a convenience factor, even, and we've talked about this too, with like wash and fold. I don't necessarily need somebody to do all my laundry.
Right.
But just like
help me out.
A load or two a week, a couple things a week, couple bags a week, take a little bit off my plate. We got 2 kids, and it's like every time they wear 3 outfits a day, and every one of them is stained with something.
It's insane because I've been on like this rebuttal of refusalness of doing laundry at home. I always feel like the plumber's got a leaky sink. We're gonna have laundry. But in conversation with my wife, she said, could you help a little bit? And my principle was I'll just take it all the cleaners. I'll do a ton of it. So last month I've been doing laundry around the house, and I'm like, this is so mundane that when I am waiting for, this is my prime example. So my dryer at home dries different than my dryers at the cleaners. So I go downstairs and I'm helping out, but I go down there and it's damp. And I'm like, well, fuck, it needs another 20 minutes to dry. So now it's out of my fucking realm. I can't even control it. And I think for $40, I could have had this done. And my house would be symbolic right now. But no, I'm going to hit the button to dry for another 20 minutes. I'm not going to fold it. I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to wake up. She's going to be pissed. I tried. I'm going to be pissed. Everybody's angry.
And the clothes are going to be wrinkled in the dryer.
Yeah, and shit's going to be shrunk. And it's just like a fucking, I get it. These are first world problems. These are 1% problems. But at some point, that's who, as a business owner, you're selling to.
Right.
You're selling to the 1%. You need to understand how they live.
Yeah, and you're dealing with something that, besides the customer that is getting his suit dry cleaned for a funeral or a wedding, your bulk customer, your customer that is your bread and butter customer, is a first world customer. It's a luxury item.
So I've been in the dry cleaning business 20 years now. And one of the phone calls I would get all the time is, you guys clean shirts? I'm like, yeah, it's 70% of our business. And they'd be like, well, it says dry cleaners. And I'm like, well, every dry cleaner does shirts. Literally every dry cleaner does shirts. But they need to make that call. And then when we started this process, I was like, let's eliminate the call. If you need your garments taken care of, just call Wash. We wash them, we dry clean, we just take care of it.
Yeah.
And it's going to be fun for me because I've been between it's almost like cheating on someone. Not that I've ever been a cheating kind of type.
Yeah.
But you're almost cheating on your business when you're rebranding.
Yeah, I can see that there's a feeling of an abandonment thing.
Yeah.
But I completely understand the idea that you bought an existing company with an existing brand. You didn't come up with that name. It's never been your baby.
And I don't even know where it came from.
Yeah. And it's really, honestly, not a great name.
Yeah.
Because is it a cleaning company? Is it a dry
Well, I
cleaner?
get a ton of phone calls. I might start cleaning houses.
Yeah, I mean, you should just keep the name.
Like
and
if
just
shit
create a
doesn't
cleaning
pick up,
company.
it's going to be Duro Cleaners. We clean your house.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even that great of a name. It's just it's a name that's been around for decades.
For 7 years, I've tried to figure out where it fits in because like everybody's heard of like Dutch Girl Cleaners, and Dutch Girl was a franchise. Like that was their franchise, like Martinizing franchise. So that made sense to why those were out there. But Duro wasn't a franchise. It's the Spanish word for hard, right? There's actually, if you get takeout food from a restaurant, a lot of the bags will say Duro on them because they're like strong bags. And I'm like, how did it connect? The only thing I could find was the old, like pre-60s Milner washers had a valve on the back called the Duro valve that like opened and closed to let the water in and out. And I'm like, there's no way. There's no fucking way.
So the guy that you bought it off of, did he start the business or did he buy it too?
His mom and her sister did. And it started in 1959. So like, I don't know where the fuck it came from.
So half a century later, you killed it.
I've asked them. If they would have gave me an answer, like my sister's dog's name was Duro, I might have been more apprehensive to kill it. But like, fuck it, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I think your Duro Cleaners, and really Duro Cleaners is probably only a household name in the North Hills area.
Yeah, right. When we left the North Hills, it was time. Like, it is crazy to talk to people like, oh yeah, I drove that way to work all the time. I saw Duro Cleaners all the time. Nobody was like, they're the best dry cleaners around, you know? And I have some people that I respect in my industry that are synonymous with that, you know? But which camera do I look into? Is that what the guys always say? I'm fucking coming for you, you know? And that's the message is like, you don't need to like me. Like that's the problem with a lot of small businesses is like you can only scale so far because you're synonymous with it. Like you're the guy, you're the face.
Yeah.
And
it's that transition from business owner or from self-employed to business owner or from worker to CFO or CEO where you have to take that step to remove yourself from the day-to-day grind of getting the work done to owning and managing a business and the systems and the processes and putting your trust in that system. And once you do that, then you can scale.
Right. And I think that when your name's on it, you're so afraid to like let it go, you know? And I think with this, my name's still on it. I'm still a phone call away. Like I'm still the guy, but like also I've seen an uptick in morale with my people at the shop. Like they're excited to see this thing through because one of the things I've done in the hiring process is hire people that are like-minded, that appreciate each other, you know? And now I've trickled it out a little bit with these koozies. I gave some of these out, and I don't know how thrilled Nate is with that, but he gave it a thumb sideways. Yeah. And the stickers, but those were like little like boosters to like the t-shirts and the sweatshirts and like getting that like now we're all part of it. And now like the next wave of people that come to work for us have to deal with those people because they were here from the beginning. Yeah. You know, where it wasn't like that before, you know?
Yeah, it's the founding crew.
Yeah. Yeah, now they're part of something. And everybody's been part of a little league team where you get your jersey and your numbers on the back and let's fucking go, you know? So I think that's what we're creating here. Now, see me in 6 months.
You're going to be fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'll be fine. But
you're going to be fine. I think the harder part was dropping the retail and going all delivery. I don't think this part of it is going to make anything.
I think the hardest part of this was, like you said, doing that, but I think it was also like watching the revenue dollars shrink.
Yeah.
And I said something the other day to Sarah. I said, you know what's nice about this? I was like, we're getting responsible in this part of our lives to build back up to the point where like we're up here again. And then we know what it takes to run our household and do this and do that. Like making payroll is a big deal nowadays. You know, 18 months ago, I didn't even fucking I just didn't do payroll because I forgot. It wasn't because there wasn't any money in the bank. Now you're like, all right, let's cash some checks. Let's get some money in here. Let's, and that's I've talked about that all along. Like, it's the grind. And to be back in the grind, and it's my grind.
Yeah.
Where it wasn't like that 9 months ago. It just walked in the door. And I don't know how much I want to say, but like, I've actually thought about like, maybe we open up a couple little small retail shops, which was out of question 9 months ago. But like,
I think there's a variation we've talked about in the past that's not maybe a traditional retail spot.
Yeah, it'd be lockers. They'd be like a kiosk.
Self-service kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. But like
the employees, but
I spent 20 years of my life looking at retail for rent, And then I spent 8 months like, fuck that. Now I'm thinking like, well, if we can get like 800 square somewhere.
Yeah.
So it's fun. It's been a roller coaster. But that was great that we had Rick C back on last week because I was like, fuck it. If he can survive, since 80, he's 40 years into the game, I don't know. It's just weird to think that you're going to go through highs and lows when you...
I was just talking about that to somebody today. Like, I don't think of I know I'm 40, but I don't think of myself as like somebody that's been doing this like a really long time.
Yeah.
But this was my 18th tax season.
We talked about that when we did the Mythbusters episode. Like, we're fucking professionals in our field.
Yeah, we've been doing this a long time.
Yeah. I think that I've always said on here that I'm not afraid to go broke because I've been there. And you would always say, I don't know how to, you've had answers to that question, that answer. But I think what I would say now is like, I'm prepared to go broke now because I'm on the brink of like sending it. It's like slingshot mode, like I've just held it all in and now it's time. And I said something to Sarah earlier today. I said, do you realize that like once we figure this out now, that the building I thought that we bought is going to be perfect forever might just not be big enough? And that's going to hurt. But I'm not moving it next time. Like, we'll talk about it while people are moving it. I'm not doing the fucking...
Yeah.
Like, I don't have that in me again.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, the power was out for like 4 days and I'm disheveled a little bit. I wore a hat for the first time in probably 30 episodes. And I felt that coming here. I was like, man, I haven't felt like this since we moved. Like, that was some rough times.
Are you caught back up?
What's that?
Are you caught back up or is still working on it?
I don't think that we're going to ever be caught back up because of prom season. Like, on a typical week, I'll do, 200 suits. I have 630 suits laying in a buggy right now, but they don't need them till Monday. So we'll get there.
Going back to work after this?
Fuck no. Them days are over, brother.
Yeah.
I'm going to hug my kids, So my son said to me today something, the coolest thing I ever heard a kid say off the school bus. I didn't get down at, like, there's weird fluctuations, so I didn't get him all the way at the bus. So I caught him at the street walking up. We live on a dead-end street, so it's no big deal. And he stops, dude, and he looks at me and he goes, Dad, I'll tell you what, my day was cooler than your day. And I'm like, what happened today, buddy? He goes, dude, the police were there. There was a fire truck. There was a helicopter, and I saw a horse. And I'm like, buddy, let me tell you about when I was 18 and got arrested. Yeah, they had a whole day of it at school today. It was cool. Yeah.
That's cool.
So,
yeah. So we got some big changes coming.
Yeah.
We're all rebounding from the storm. But, this was good. Little
new set.
Yeah. We didn't even talk about the fact that we're on a one-on-one set. We Nate built a new set for the one-on-one.
Some of you sleep when the power's out, and Nate just builds new sets.
Yeah, we're
gonna be on a Ferris wheel next time.
We have a little one-on-one side over here, and we'll use this occasionally just to mix it up a little bit, keep everybody on their toes. But yeah.
Yeah, I think we take a moment and talk about real quick, just short shout out, Lumberjack Tree Services. They're postponing their episode a couple weeks. Imagine that. Yeah. They're busy working.
Yeah, we had him lined up, and then we had another person lined up for this week, but the storms really messed up everybody's schedules. Everybody's trying to, kind of scramble to try to get things together. And now we're here, the two of us. So we made it happen.
It's been a while. So we've had that bridge episode that we've been earning to have for a long time.
There you go. So hopefully it was a good one. Thanks for listening, and until next time.
Thanks, guys. New set, new rules, man. I'm bringing it back.
Thank you for listening to Between Two Bridges, a business-to-business podcast. Find and follow us on your preferred podcast streaming platform. Like and subscribe, and leave us a rating and review. You can join us socially on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and X. You can email the show at info@betweentwobridgespodcast.com. Until next time, make it till you rake it.
Fuck it, we'll do it live. Is he leaving? He's not gonna watch. He's like, I'll listen to this tomorrow. We starting without him?
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know if that's a good idea. I feel like my parents just left the room. Like,
are we allowed to be in here? We're in here without an adult.